For centuries, knowledge has been hidden in plain sight across the sands of time. Whispers of lost civilizations, cryptic symbols, and forbidden histories have been erased or concealed. What if the truth was never lost, but hidden? Welcome to Eye of Ancient Mysteries, where the past speaks and the future listens. Sit back, open your mind, and prepare to uncover the untold secrets of our world. Let the journey begin now. The suppressed truth about discoveries on the moon. There was a time when no one expected that Earth's celestial neighbor could puzzle scientists with so many secrets and mysteries. Many imagined the moon as a lifeless, crater-covered rocky sphere. But in fact, it turns out that its surface hides ancient cities, mysterious colossal mechanisms, and UFO bases. What does the first man who lands on the moon see? Let us recall the intercepted words of Neil Armstrong, picked up by amateur radio operators. Armstrong. What is that? What the hell is going on? I really want to know what that is. What's the matter? Is something wrong? Armstrong. Massive objects. Sir! Enormous! Oh my God! There are other spacecraft here. They're standing on the far side of the crater. They're on the moon and watching us. After the lunar expeditions, Wernher von Braun said, there are alien forces out there that are much stronger than we can imagine. I am not at liberty to discuss this further. It is no wonder that all information about aliens on the moon has been classified. It turns out that not only is the presence of extraterrestrials on the moon being hidden from the global public, but also the existence of ruins of ancient cities, mysterious installations and mechanisms on its surface. On October 30, 2007, former head of the photo service at NASA's Lunar Laboratory, Ken Johnston, and writer Richard Hoagland held a press conference in Washington, which was immediately reported by news channels around the world. Understandably so, since it concerned a sensational revelation, like a bombshell. Johnston and Hoagland claimed that American astronauts once discovered on the moon the ruins of ancient cities and artifacts that point to the existence of a highly developed civilization that inhabited Earth's satellite in the distant past. During the press conference, photographs of objects with clearly artificial origins on the lunar surface were shown. As Johnston admitted, NASA removed all details from lunar photographic materials intended for public release that might arouse suspicion of their artificial origin. According to Ken, in several images, complex structures resembling white strips against the black sky can be seen. Ruins of grandiose buildings reaching several kilometers in height. Of course, if such photographs became publicly available, they would raise uncomfortable questions. Richard Hoagland presented images of a massive structure, glass towers, which Americans call the castle, one of the tallest structures discovered on the moon. Hoagland made an intriguing statement. Both NASA and the Soviet space program discovered that we are not alone in the universe. There are ruins on the moon, remnants of a culture far more enlightened than we are today. YLERTLARCHO logos is BELOOD TGMON. Richard Hoagland managed to obtain photos taken by Apollo 10 and Apollo 16, clearly showing a city in the Sea of Crisis. The photographs reveal towers, bridges, and viaducts. The city is situated beneath a transparent dome, partially damaged by impacts from large meteorites. This dome, like many of the Moon's structures, is made of a material resembling crystal or fiberglass. According to ufologists, recent NASA and Pentagon studies suggest that the crystal used in the lunar structures resembles steel in composition, yet has no earthly equivalent in strength and durability. Who created the transparent domes, lunar cities, crystal, castles and towers, pyramids, obelisks, and other artificial structures, some stretching several kilometers in size? Some researchers believe that millions, or perhaps tens of thousands, of years ago, the Moon served as an intermediary base for an alien civilization with interests on Earth. Other hypotheses also exist. One suggests that the lunar cities were built by a powerful earthly civilization that perished due to war or a global natural cataclysm. Deprived of support from Earth, the lunar colony died out. Undoubtedly, the ruins of lunar cities are of great interest to scientists. Studying them could provide answers to many questions regarding the most ancient history of Earth's civilization. It may even reveal knowledge of advanced technologies. But will the Moon's current owners allow earthly archaeologists to set foot there? Then everything went wrong. What happened after the return of Apollo 11? Was life on Earth in danger? After the first humans stepped onto the Moon and successfully returned to Earth, their mission was not entirely over. While today this may seem like a strange idea, considering what we now believe about the Moon's lifeless surface, at the time, there were many unknowns. Upon their return, the Apollo 11 crew spent 21 days in quarantine, just in case they brought back dangerous microorganisms from our satellite. In the 1960s, a new field emerged: exobiology, the study of the possibility of microbial life beyond our planet. Though often ridiculed as a discipline, exobiologists argued that only their field could mitigate the most serious risks and harness the greatest potential of the new space age, writes Dagomar de Groot, a historian from Georgetown University, in a new article. They emphasized that microbial life might be widespread across the entire solar system. Therefore, missions to other worlds had to guard against both forward contamination, which could jeopardize the discovery of alien life, and backward contamination, which could endanger life, including human life, on Earth, even though most believed the Moon's surface to be sterile. Some, including Carl Sagan, considered it possible that microbial life might exist just beneath the surface. In part to reassure the public, NASA designed a lunar receiving laboratory LR-11 where Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin, and Michael Collins would be isolated along with any potentially hazardous lunar microbes that could devastate life on Earth. Sagan, for his part, compared the risk of microbial life returning to Earth to the epidemics of venereal disease that ravaged Europe during the Middle Ages, or measles, which took a heavy toll when it was introduced to Polynesia. We all know what happened next. All three astronauts were fine, and no alien life form was released to threaten humanity. But according to the new article, if lunar microbes had actually existed, the protocols in place would likely have failed. Most likely, the microorganisms that seemed most likely to evolve on the moon would have infected the astronauts, contaminated their spacecraft, escaped into the Pacific Ocean, and breached quarantine. Just as tests on plants and bacteria, reportedly brought back from the moon, were making front-page news in the United States, de Groot writes, the quarantine protocol appeared successful only because it was unnecessary. There were many problems with the procedure, as described by de Groot. The capsule that brought the Apollo 11 crew down into the Pacific Ocean was dropped during descent, potentially releasing microbes into the atmosphere. When it landed in the ocean, it was opened so the astronauts and any deadly microbes could exit into the sea. If there had been lunar organisms capable of reproducing in Earth's ocean, we would have been at risk, said John Rummel, former NASA planetary protection officer, to the New York Times. The astronauts themselves could also have been in danger on their return trip from the moon. Lunar dust was everywhere. Since it irritated their skin and lungs, the two astronauts slept that night wearing their helmets and gloves. Removing all the dust was clearly impossible, de Groot writes. If it harbored a pathogen, it could have easily infected the astronauts. Upon the astronauts' return to Earth, the film used to capture footage of the moon was quickly processed for public viewing. While the film was sent for decontamination using ethylene oxide gas, 5 technicians reported being exposed to lunar dust during processing. NASA, which knew that infection from extraterrestrial life was unlikely, also likely knew about the many failures in its quarantine procedure. By the time it concluded, 24 people had been placed under quarantine due to potential exposure. De Groot writes that NASA, driven by its desire to beat the Soviet Union to the moon, did not take the time to properly safeguard either the astronauts or the Earth. For nearly a year, tests and simulations had revealed critical problems, and federal officials repeatedly warned that urgent fixes were needed. De Groot writes, yet there wasn't enough time to prepare for the arrival of Apollo 11's astronauts, command module, film reels, and samples. Had Apollo 11 returned with microorganisms from the moon, they probably would have escaped. Of course, since the Apollo program, NASA has been working on new guidelines for quarantining samples collected beyond Earth. Hopefully, we'll soon be able to test them on samples from places much more likely to harbor life.